Then Clark super speeds after Oliver to catch him, and they share a little super bros with double identities moment. And then
super bros with double identities. It sounded like they needed a theme song, you know?
hello, Aimee, again.
Hello.
We started this, and then we hated everything we had, so we started over.
Yes. I decided to arrange my lighting after we already pressed record. So.
Aimee, I just spit my water all over Dayton.
You did what? Why?
Oh my god, I started laughing and it just literally, I did like a fucking spit take. Okay, so hi.
Okay.
This episode is Smallville and Lois, episode 4. This episode will cover season 6. If you hadn't put that together from the fact that last time it was season 5.
Hold on.
We are fucking pros. One video recording in the bag, and I think we're set.
Yeah.
Solid.
Yep.
This is season 6, and I would like to preface it with season 5. I took 14 pages of notes throughout the whole season. For season 6, I took 28 pages of notes, and that was after I went through and edited in hopes of trimming it down. The final product was still 28 pages. So I did manage to trim 2 pages off.
Okay.
And I felt pretty good about that. There's just apparently a lot in season 6. Brief recap of the end of season 5. Lex gets possessed by Zod, and
Yes.
that's pretty much all you need to know, because then season 6 starts off like straight out the gate. Lex/Zod had sent Clark to the Phantom Zone. I don't know if we've mentioned the Phantom Zone before, but I don't have time to tell you what it is. So look it up. So anyway,
I think we may have, but
I think
they really, really talk about it in a Lego Batman.
Yes, they do.
You need a place to watch it.
Great note, Aimee. Thank you for that, because
You're welcome.
They do. Watch Lego Batman if you haven't seen it. It is my
Yes.
second favorite Batman movie ever.
A masterpiece. It's a masterpiece.
It is a masterpiece. All right, so Clark is in the Phantom Zone. It's where we start.
Okay.
Fun fact, Clark has no powers in the Phantom Zone.
Yes.
So it's not exactly his favorite place to be. Meanwhile, in Smallville/Metropolis, Lex is possessed by Zod, and all of Metropolis is like in shambles, rioting, because Zod's whole mission is like to terraform Earth into the new Krypton. Okay.
Okay, word.
Yeah, so he's like already started just like some destruction, and Lana is trying to be like, Lex, stop. I know you're in there. And Zod/Lex is like, Lex Luthor is gone, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So a brief FYI for non-fans, Zod and Clark/Superman/Kal-El are nemesis by default, because Zod and Jor-El, Clark's dad, biological father, were adversaries in the Civil War on Krypton. Okay, so I just felt like I should just tell you who Zod is and like why is it a big deal and why would they be like fighting.
Okay.
So meanwhile, Lionel, Lex's dad, Lionel Luthor, and Chloe are working together to find Clark/save Lex from Zod.
Okay.
Weird team, but okay.
Mm-hmm.
Annoying side note, Michael Rosenbaum and Kristen Kreuk have such better chemistry than Tom and Kristen, and it makes you begrudgingly want to root for Lex and Lana, like, throughout the season.
I disagree.
Really?
I disagree. I mean, maybe I need to watch it again, but I don't root for them at all.
I mean, writing that, I did kind of laugh at myself because at the end of the episode before this, I talked about how there was a bunch of Lex and Lana in this season, and I would probably skip it, and then there's a lot of Lex and Lana in my notes, so I apologize in advance for my hypocrisy.
It's okay. I won't make a big deal about it, but I will make my opinions known.
Good. I hoped you would.
Okay.
So all of that's going on. The Lex, the Lana, the Zod, the Clark, and the Phantom Zone. Finally, we get to Lois. At the end of season 5, Martha and Lois are on a plane. I don't remember exactly where they were flying, but it was for Martha's senator stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then the plane starts to crash, but we don't know.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, but we don't know when the episode ends if the plane crashed or not. So
Oh, fuck.
it does. And
cool.
Yes.
Great.
And this is where we pick up in season 6. Martha's okay. She comes to, but she finds Lois thrust halfway outside of the plane, partially buried in the snow. And Martha manages to pull her back inside the plane and put one of those emergency blankets over her. But Lois's head is bleeding, and she's probably hypothermic.
All bad. Just all bad.
All bad. So Martha tries to contact radio control, and more bad. The comms are down because
good.
Because the plane crashed.
Right.
But something outside the window catches Martha's eye, and it's Clark's Fortress of Solitude.
Ah!
Wow, that was beautiful.
Thank you so much.
That is the sound it makes when you approach.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, well, that's good news. I know what that is. So Martha trudges through the snow to the fortress, pulling Lois on the life raft that you can blow up if the plane crashes, pulling her on the raft.
Fuck.
Yeah, because Martha's a fucking badass.
Yeah.
So she pulls Lois there to try to see if Jor-El will talk to her and also maybe tell her where Clark is because they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So Jor-El tells her that Kal-El has been banished to the Phantom Zone by Zod, and the only way to release Kal-El and, essentially save the world is to kill Zod's vessel, which is Lex.
Oh, right. Okay.
So that's, probably not great news for Lex.
It's not gonna go down well.
Yeah. So Jor-El is like, yes, I can zap you back to Smallville, because that was one of her main questions. But before he does, he thanks Martha for taking care of Kal-El.
Oh my God.
I know. He says, everything you will have done for Kal-El, you have my deepest gratitude. I could not have wished for a brighter light to guide my son.
Yeah.
I know. Maybe the nicest thing Jor-El has ever and will ever say.
Not super warm guy.
No, he's not. He's not. Warm is not the word I would use for Jor-El.
But he's an alien.
So, cut to Chloe at the planet. She's looking for anything to help her and Lionel, read Kryptonian to figure out how to stop Zod. And while she's rummaging around, she hears someone sneaking around, and she panics because Metropolis is rioting. And so she's kind of on red alert. And And she grabs a gun she sees on the floor.
Oh, good. Handy.
Thank goodness.
Mm-hmm.
And she just shoots in the direction of the noise.
Why not?
Thank goodness she missed, because enter Jimmy Olsen.
Oh my gosh.
The absolute treasure of a human, photographer for the Daily Planet, played by Aaron Ashmore. We love Jimmy.
Lovely.
We are big Jimmy fans around here. So she misses, and Jimmy's kind of like, whoa. I'm Jimmy Olsen. And then they realize they know each other because Chloe and Jimmy, unbeknownst to the audience, they had gone on a date in the past. And then I guess Chloe just never called him back. I'm not sure. But they know each other.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Lex slash Zod is trying to terraform Earth into the new Krypton with this ancient Kandorian stone he has. Because remember what we always say?
Stones are power.
Exactly.
Right?
Stones equal power. Lana is still there, like trying to snap Lex out of it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And Zod is annoyed, so he stabs Lana in the hand.
Yes.
Yeah, he stabs her through the hand and like into a bookcase or something, so she's like stuck.
Oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because he has work to do. But don't worry, Lana pulls the dagger out of her hand and then makes it all the way to the Kent farm to find Lionel and Martha.
Oh my god. I
know.
Just stay down.
It's a theme. So Martha, because Jor-El zapped like her and Lois back to the caves because that's like where the link is. Okay. We're presuming Martha took Lois to the hospital and then has now come back to the Kent farm to look for this knife that Jor-El told her would stop Zod. He's like, okay. Clark has the knife. This is, you'll find it. Martha finds it and then Lionel shows up and he's like, I know where Lex probably is, blah, blah, blah. And then Lana shows up and is like, I'm the only one who can get close enough to Lex to finish this. But unfortunately, she's right. And so she goes and finds Lex slash Zod and tries to seduce him.
Gross.
Which is like a smart tactic, I guess. But did we forget she has a hole in her hand?
Yeah, no, not a priority right now.
Like, I just was like, what? So she tries to seduce Lex, but Zod is smart, and he realizes that she's just trying to pull one on him. He immediately sees the knife coming and, like, deflects it, and then he kind of, like, takes her with him to go wherever he needs to go, because he's like, all right, if I can't just leave you here, then fine, you're coming with me. Hostage situation. Back to the Phantom Zone. Basically, this other Kryptonian is in the Phantom Zone. Long story. If we do an episode where I like fill in the gaps, I'll talk to you about Raya. But all we need to know is she helps Clark get through the Phantom Zone to the portal that will send him back to Earth.
Okay.
The portal, however, is infested with wraiths. Picture like a Dementor in Harry Potter.
Hold on. I think I need to pause because Jeffrey is being too loud.
Okay.
With this video games.
Understandable.
Sorry. Okay.
That was adorable.
I think you need to keep the slide in.
What?
My slide into my seat.
Oh, absolutely.
But I'm back.
Welcome back.
I went and closed his door, and he was just like, what? I didn't even know. And I was like, I know, I didn't tell you.
You were like, shut the fuck up.
Oh my god.
Okay, so anyway.
Okay.
Now we're in the Phantom Zone. Raya is fighting them off so that Clark can escape, which he does, but several wraiths make it through the portal back to Smallville with him.
Great.
Whoops. Finding these escapee wraiths is kind of an important subplot for Clark throughout the season, but we will not talk about it much here.
Good. I don't know why, but I don't want to know a lot about it.
There's just not enough time, and it would take too long. It comes,
it's not what we're here for.
Correct. It just comes back up in one episode, so I had to mention it here so that you had some frame of reference.
Sure, yes.
So back in Smallville, Clark immediately rushes to find / stop Lex / Zod. Clark and Zod start having a superpowered throwdown. Clark wins. Sweet. Don't worry. He shoves a different Kryptonian stone into Lex's / Zod's hand, which separates Zod from Lex and traps Zod in the stone.
Word.
I think. Sorry if I'm...
Like a genie.
Right. Sorry if I'm wrong and that's totally off base and we'll find out later. But I'm saying that's what happens.
He goes into the stone.
Because again, stones equal
power. Yes. It would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that that's all over with, who does Clark check on first? Chloe? Lana? No. Lois.
What?
Fucking,
I didn't see that coming.
I know. Okay, so he rushes to the hospital because Martha told him what happened. And he is so relieved to see Lois. And she's so happy to see him. And it makes you want to melt because you're not expecting this to be the interaction that you get.
Yeah.
She tells him about waking up in this palace of ice and being bathed in this warm light and how it was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. And when she was there, she just knew everything was going to be okay.
Aww.
And he suggests maybe she was hallucinating because she was hypothermic, whatever. But she insists it's real. Lois, I think I died and went to heaven. Clark, then I'm glad you're back. It's just really...
Wow.
And then he reaches out and he takes her hand, like almost so involuntarily that it catches Lois off guard. And he like gently squeezes her hand. And she's kind of confused and surprised, which of course makes Clark pull his hand away. But he doesn't like try to brush it off like he always does. He just kind of like looks away bashfully. And Lois just like takes in the moment, and it's beautiful. Because, like, in this moment, even if it's not setting up anything romantic yet, it's such a beautiful interaction that shows how much they have come to care for one another.
Yeah, they're buddies,
yeah.
too.
And I loved it. Also,
wonderful.
I know. Also, as Clark listens to Lois describing the fortress, you can, like, see in his face how touched he is that she, like, felt safe there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and I love it so much.
Yeah,
okay. Cute. Okay, so Lex, for real Lex, comes and finds Lana in the hospital because she finally got her fucking hand bandaged up.
Oh, well, thank fucking God she got some medical attention.
I know, like, Jesus. And he has, like, an annoyingly redeeming moment where he apologizes for being possessed by an evil alien. You know?
Yeah, weird.
Hate it when that happens. And he thanks her for being willing to, like, try to kill him to stop him from, like, ruining the world, which I guess is admirable. And so they're good again because they're the pinnacle of a healthy relationship, as we will continue to see. Then finally Clark goes to check on Chloe. Important to note, in the season 5 finale, when Chloe thinks the world is ending and Zod might kill Clark, she kisses Clark. And you know what? Okay. Given those circumstances, I probably would have as well.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean. Yeah. So, naturally, Clark is seeing her for the first time since that. And he's like, hey, about that. And she's like, the world was ending. We can leave it at that. And he's like, great, cool, glad we're on the same page. Then Jimmy comes up. And Chloe introduces him to Clark. And Jimmy takes one look at Clark and says, whoa, growing big in Kansas, don't they?
Oh, damn.
And I was like, Jimmy forever. That is the first thing out of his mouth to this person.
Yeah.
Incredible. But this whole little exchange is a great scene overall because we learn exactly who Jimmy is in like 2 lines. And Clark immediately clocks the way Chloe looks at Jimmy. And it's just a really nice moment because Clark and Chloe have been friends their whole lives, and he has never seen her remotely interested in anyone else. And immediately he sees that she, like, likes Jimmy. And I just really like that you get that moment of, like, him being like, oh, like, wow.
Yeah.
So anyway, Chloe and Jimmy go to, like, get some food, and Jimmy's like, catch you later, CK. And that's what he calls Clark forever, and I just really love that they put that in his first scene with him.
Yeah, that's really cute.
That's cute. All right, so that was the first episode.
Woo! 1 episode down.
1 down. All right. So the next episode is called Sneeze. Oh, the first episode is called Zod. I don't think I said that, but I think I think it's pretty obvious. So episode 2 is called Sneeze. We open, Clark and Martha are having breakfast. They're watching the news. Clark is blaming himself for all the destruction Zod caused while Zod possessed Lex because Clark has, you know,
Clark is exhausting.
Because he has, like, this complex where he thinks he should be able to stop everything, which honestly is something that I love about Superman and I think is often misunderstood. But we'll get to that later. Clark's like, it's all my fault. And Martha's like, no, like, you can't control everything. And Clark stands up to go start repairing the barn for, like, the 800th time. But as he stands up, he gets lightheaded, which is weird, considering he's, like, invincible. And so Martha stops him and is like, whoa. And she feels his forehead and realizes he also seems feverish. And she's like, I think you might be sick. And he's like, I can't get sick.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm fine. Cut to the barn. Clark is fixing the stuff. He's repairing the stairs by, like, shoving nails through planks of wood with his bare thumbs.
I have a very vivid picture of that. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Because he doesn't need a hammer.
God. Can you imagine? Oh, the things that I would build. Right? It was just like, beep, beep.
Nothing
like,
done.
Oh my God. Everything in my house, I'd be like, handmade.
So he's working. And then all of a sudden, he sneezes.
Oh my God.
Fun fact, Clark has never sneezed before in his entire life.
He's so confused.
Yes. Super fun fact, his sneeze is so powerful, he blows the barn door off and sends it flying approximately 5 miles away. And it
oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, and it lands in front of Lois while she's on a jog.
Oh my God, yes. See, I can see it.
Yes.
Yes.
It's all coming back to Aimee because she has involuntarily watched this season with me so many times.
Yeah,
So back to the house, Martha makes Clark some tea, and they ponder over how maybe while he was without powers in the Phantom Zone, his immune system was compromised. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
I could believe it, I guess. He's super stressed.
Is there, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Lois shows up and is like, guys, a barn door almost crushed me on my run.
Mm-hmm.
And then she immediately realizes it's their barn door. Because the door is gone. And she's like, you two didn't notice that? And Clark and Martha are just like, weird. Wonder.
Oh my God.
What?
Where's the barn door?
Clark, you were just out there. You didn't notice? Update, Lana moved into the Luther mansion because she dropped out of college.
Yes. Yes, always a good sign that someone's doing well.
Yes.
They drop out of college and they move in with their much older boyfriend. Isn't she an orphan?
Yeah, she's like raised by her aunt or something.
Okay, yeah. I just was sorry. I mean, all of that to be like, where are her parents? But then I was like, wait, I think her parents died.
They did. Tragically.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Well, then that explains that, I guess.
Yeah.
Sad.
Meanwhile, at the planet, Clark goes to find Chloe to tell her that he sneezed. And naturally, she's like, bless you. And then he's like, no, Chloe, that's not normal. And then he sneezes in the office and nearly blows everyone away. And Chloe's like, oh, right. Problem. And then he tells her, to make matters worse, Lois is on the case to figure out why the barn door fell from the sky. And so Chloe's like, okay, so we got to figure out, 1, how to get you better, and 2, how to distract Lois from figuring out what actually happened. Okay, so then back at the farm, Lionel shows up to tell Clark and Martha that he thinks Lex got abducted because there's always something. And Lionel is mainly worried that his abductors might find out about Clark's powers if it turns out that Lex remembers anything from while he was possessed by Zod. So I tried to cut that part out, but it's kind of important for later. So anyway. Meanwhile, Lois is on the case, as we mentioned. She brings Chloe out to the field to see the barn door where it fell from the sky. And Chloe immediately tries to over-rationalize how this could have happened. And Lois gets annoyed because Chloe is normally all for the weird and unexplained.
Yeah.
And now she's acting like Lois is crazy. So despite Chloe's disinterest, Lois is like, I'm writing an article about this with my theory. I'm doing it. So she types up this article and she asks Chloe if she thinks the planet will print it. And Chloe,
Aww.
I know, it's adorable, but Chloe gently breaks it to her that the planet will definitely not print it because there's no sources and it's all a hunch.
Yeah.
And so Lois is like, fine, then I'll take it to a paper that appreciates it. And she leaves. Hop to the Luther mansion. Clark goes to try and figure out if he can pick up any clues on who could have taken Lex. And he walks in on Lana sitting at the piano, like being as eerie and melancholic as ever. She's just sitting there absently tapping keys, like staring off into the distance because I guess she's sad that Lex might have been abducted. Okay.
And I don't know about you, but that's exactly what I do when I'm sad, so
Clark comes in and Lana gives him 10 types of hell for no reason. And Clark assures her he's just trying to find Lex. And Lana's like, then do it. That is legitimately what she says to him. And I was like, Jesus Christ, Lana, go back to your piano.
oh my god, yeah. Like, any tips? Like, you wanna, how can I be doing more for you?
He's like, I'm trying to help you find your fucking new boyfriend, okay?
Yeah.
Next drum roll. Enter Justin Hartley as Oliver Queen.
It's time. Yes.
It's time.
It's time.
So Lionel seeks out Oliver, who just moved to Metropolis. Lionel goes over there to see if Oliver somehow knows anything about what happened to Lex, because backstory, Lex and Oliver were nemesis in their boarding school days.
Oh my god, how cute.
Yeah, so Lionel's kind of like, curious that you just moved here and suddenly Lex goes missing. But Oliver has no idea who took Lex. And there's this great moment where Lionel is like, well, Lex is missing. And Oliver goes, dear God, I wonder what happened. Like, it's just such a great, moment. So it is also important to note that Lana is also trying to find Lex, probably, I guess, because Clark came over and Lana realized, oh, I'm not doing anything. I should also try. I don't know. But also Lana tries to solve everything, ever. She pieces together some clues and shows up at this sketchy-ass facility at night and calls Chloe when she gets there and is like, yo, Chloe, call me back. I need you to look up an address. And all the while, she has the window down.
To
her car window is down. And guess what happens? Someone goes, yoink! Yeah, one of the dudes in the sketchy ass facility sneaks up on her with a gun.
Oh god.
Yeah. And he just sticks it like through the window at her. Cause what are you doing?
Being a fucking fool.
I know.
And over her head. Go back to your piano.
Back to Clark and Chloe. They sneak into some office following their most recent clue. Clark scans the room with his x-ray vision and senses something behind a wall. And he tries to pry it open, but he doesn't have enough strength because he's sick. And Chloe has the bright idea that Clark should sneeze at the wall. And Clark is like, Chloe, I'm not a circus monkey. And she's like, blow the wall down, Clark. And he's like, oh, I hadn't thought about it that way. So then he does. He uses super breath, if you will, and blasts the wall away.
Nice.
And yeah. And then most importantly, they find where Lex is. So meanwhile, back at this sketchy ass facility, this shit happens. The building is on fire. Lex and Lana are trying to escape. Lex is like, this is my fault. Deja vu. Clark appears outside the building and hurries in when he sees it's on fire. And he puts out the fire with his newly discovered super breath.
Super breath.
Super breath.
What a great new skill.
And he makes sure Lex and Lana don't see him, obviously, but Woo saves the day. Hurrah. Then, as always, we end at the barn, and Chloe and Clark are getting ready to go to the lake because everything that just happened is completely normal in their lives at this point.
Yeah.
But Clark is feeling a bit better, and Chloe is super excited that he has a new ability because she's like, there could be so many other abilities that you don't even know you have. Right. And Then Lois shows up to celebrate her first professional byline because the Inquisitor printed her story. The Inquisitor is kind of like a paranormal conspiracy theory paper. Like, they're here for all of that. Like, they only printed her story because they had her add that they think aliens were responsible. But she's like, hey, my article's in the paper.
Mm-hmm.
And she realizes that this is the most fun she's had doing anything in a long time, and she wants to pursue journalism. So it's a big episode. Yeah, it's a big episode really big. For Lois. Yeah. Episode 3 is called Wither. Lex and Lana's relationship has now made headlines, and Clark and Martha are discussing the tabloid in the morning paper of Lex and Lana canoodling. And Clark's all like, whatever, I'm totally cool with it. Don't even care. Jump to Lex planning for this party he's throwing that night, probably for like a fundraiser. Who knows? He's always doing philanthropic shit like that.
Yeah.
Lana comes barging in with the paper, telling him she's not the next Lex girl. And Lex informs her, unfortunately, being with him means being in the public eye. Lana, if you hadn't put that together by now. And he confides in her that he found out his own mother died through the press. So he's like, this is my life.
Yeah, so
like the press are up my family's ass. So like you can either accept that or you can leave. And then she walks out, so he's kind of like,
God. It's like that John Mulaney sketch where he's talking about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. And he was like, do you think they were going to be fun? Yeah. Like, I've never looked at the royal family and thought, yeah, I'd party with them. Yeah. You know, he was like, yeah, you're going to have to sit up straight. You're going to do, be just so. Like, did you not see Princess Diana?
It's that type of situation, but with Lex and Lana. Hop to the Talon. Lois and Chloe are living together now. Woo, fun.
In the apartment above.
Yes.
Sweet.
Yeah. Pretty much there's a couple times throughout where they're actually at the Talon coffee shop, but most of the time throughout this season, if I say Talon, it's the apartment above the Talon, just for clarification. Okay. All right, so Clark shows up to get the scoop on some weirdness going on in the national forest outside Smallville because Chloe and Jimmy found a dead body. But the cause of death was strange, to say the least, and Chloe thinks the culprit is probably meteor infected. Back to the Kent farm, Lois is working at the kitchen table, following up with the Inquisitor about, more article opportunities. And she answers a knock at the door, and she opens it to find the dreamy Oliver Queen standing on the other side. She does not know this man is Oliver Queen and assumes he's just a delivery guy dropping something off for Martha. She tips him and then sends him on his way. And to top that off, she says, just so you know, with a face like that, you could do a whole lot better than playing errand boy to the rich and arrogant. Seriously, aim higher. And then shuts the door. So Martha comes downstairs asking who was at the door, and Lois is like, oh, no one, but your pledge from Queen Industries finally arrived. And Martha asks where the person who dropped it off is, and Lois is like, the courier? I tipped him and sent him on his way. And Martha then informs Lois that Oliver Queen himself was dropping off the donation. She describes Oliver to Lois, and Lois realizes that was, in fact, the man who she just met. So not only did she borderline hit on him, but she also called him rich and arrogant to his face.
Yes. And then tipped him $2 back.
Yeah, she pulled some cash out of her pocket, Killing it. Meanwhile, Clark and Chloe go out to investigate this forest weirdness. Clark runs into a park ranger at the crime scene, and then Clark finds another body trapped under a bunch of tree roots. And he tries to move the roots, but they cut his hands. Which is weird, considering, again, he's invincible. Curious. Jimmy also goes out to the forest on his own to keep investigating, because precious Jimmy never wants to, be left behind. And he's very capable, but sometimes...
He's just not Superman.
He's a Superman, you know? Jump to Lois barging into Oliver's apartment unannounced, pushing past his personal assistant. And Oliver is just like working out, casually doing a handstand in the middle of the living room.
Sure.
Like you do.
Like you do.
Lois trudges in carrying this ridiculous gift basket of assorted fruits and nuts. Definitely what I would have brought for damage control, for sure.
Yeah.
She tries to apologize for assuming he was a courier and insists he gave Mrs. Kent a second chance. And Oliver plays coy and starts eating some of the fruit from the basket and ignores her apology. And as she starts to leave, he just abruptly asks her to accompany him to Lex's party that night.
No.
And Lois initially says, no, thank you, and follows that with, also, I don't have a costume. Fun fact, the party is a costume party. And Oliver then hands her a garment box with a dress inside it that just so happens to be in her size.
Wow, that's convenient.
Yeah, which is like a huge just eye roll moment. If you're anyone but Oliver, for some reason, he just makes it less insufferable.
Uh-huh.
And so she accepts the invitation. Because also I think she's trying to still do damage control. And she's like, well, if I go to this party, maybe like he'll forget about me sticking my foot in my mouth earlier.
So then after he left that day at the Kent house, he was so bewitched.
So bewitched.
That he immediately called up like a tailor and was like, all right, I'm going to take this girl to the ball. I don't know, maybe like a 4. You know, like, yeah, like, all right, we'll make you something, bud.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would be too, like, upon first meeting her. So I understand.
I would just have questions. Like, I'd be like, yeah, we can go.
Oh, for sure. It's like weird.
How did you know?
It's borderline serial killer vibes ish.
Yes. Yes.
But that's why, like, I don't know. For some reason, you just like you overlook it because it's Oliver. I don't know. I don't like, and it's just because he's handsome. Just accept it.
I mean,
he's
like
pretty.
In American Psycho, like they're like, look at how charming he is. Don't you just kind of like not even notice?
Exactly. You know, Ted Bundy, Charlie Manson, worked for them. Back to Clark and Chloe on the case. They piece everything together, figure out the cause of the forest weirdness is, in fact, a meteor-infected person who is essentially trying to use humans as a host to terraform the world. Kind of like Poison Ivy, but like not as genuine or glamorous as Ivy. Light bulb moment. Clark realizes it's the park ranger, so he rushes to find and stop her before she kills anyone else. And the ranger almost defeats Clark because her fucking terraform root powers come from meteor rock. Meanwhile, at Lex's party, most importantly, he has hired the All-American Rejects to play.
Oh, hell yes.
And I said, I am here for it.
Man.
If I'd have gone to that party, I'd be like, fuck yeah.
I'd be going hard.
And Lana shows up dressed as the Cleopatra to Lex's Antony. And again, it's honestly kind of a beautiful moment because Lex thinks he blew it and that they're done. And then she shows up in costume and strides past all the paparazzi without batting an eye. And Lex is just mesmerized. And we've genuinely never seen him as happy as he is in that moment. Like, that's what I'm saying. You, like, want to root. You want to be like...
Yeah, it's just because it's her.
It's just because it's Lana. But even better... Lois and Oliver come to the party dressed as Robin Hood and Maid Marian.
I love it.
Incredible. And then Lois finally introduces Oliver to Martha, and he does agree to help with Martha's, like, campaign or whatever she needed the help for. So it's a win-win all around. All right, back to the forest. Chloe saves the day. She finds Clark and Jimmy, and all is well. Final scene. Lois and Oliver go back to the Talon, and he thanks her for accompanying him to the party, and he asks if he can give her a kiss goodnight. And she tells him if he can shoot one of those arrows into the beer can sitting on top of the dumpster across the alley, then he earns a kiss. Okay, well, he confidently pulls out an arrow and readies it to shoot. And he, like, smiles to himself and lets it loose, but he misses. And Lois says, better luck next time. And then she goes inside. But then the camera pans to the arrow, and we see that Oliver shot the arrow through the pop tab of the can, like a bullseye. So he missed on purpose.
Oh my God.
To let Lois, like, win, which could also seem as, like, an annoying moment, but I actually think it's a great moment because he kind of coerced her into going and, like, used that she was in damage control mode to, like, get her to come with him. So I like that he didn't then, like, steal a kiss from her, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And then episode 4 is called Arrow.
What? Hey.
I didn't pick up on everything setting up to this. What?
You gotta give me some more. I was just blindsided.
A black tie party of sorts for politicians and philanthropists is how we open. Okay. Lionel and Martha are, like, hosting it together, and Martha is wearing some Luther heirloom diamond necklace that Lionel insisted she borrow for the night.
Oh, wow. Okay, because brave.
She's the host of honor. Lois and Oliver arrive at this party, and Lois is somewhat anxiously listing topics that Oliver has asked her to avoid throughout the evening so as not to embarrass or offend anyone.
Oh, great.
Mm-hmm. Which lasts about 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. Oliver introduces her to one politician, and Lois, sorry about your oil tanker. I'd hate to be a pelican in that harbor, huh? Oliver, well, we're gonna go. That's our cue. So then he escorts her to their table where he tells her to just wait while he goes and gets their drinks and maybe not talk to anyone else. And she's like, all right. Right. So Lionel cues the party to raise their glasses for a toast to Martha, and Martha steps forward to say thank you. But then suddenly an arrow shoots past her head and into the power box on the far wall. All the lights go out. Seemingly from nowhere, a masked vigilante in an all-green leather getup with a hood swoops in. They snatch the Luther heirloom necklace from Martha with a quippy, thank you.
Almost said at the beginning, I was just like, was he trying to get her killed? Like, because why would you
putting that necklace on her?
Yeah.
I don't fucking know. Excuse me. He snatches the necklace and then flees as quickly as he arrived, and Lois hurries after the vigilante without hesitation because she's Lois. She grabs a metal serving tray and chases after him, and she, like, throws the tray at him and demands he give the necklace back, to which the vigilante responds, "You forgot to say please." Then he shoots a grappling arrow up the elevator shaft and repels away. But what the vigilante didn't notice is that Lois pulled a different piece of jewelry from them, which was a chain with a ring on it that they were wearing around their neck. Lois, like, yanked it off of them as they, like, repelled up the elevator shaft. Jump to Oliver's apartment after the party. Lois is giving her witness statement to Lionel's personal detective or whomever. And after the detective leaves, Oliver looks at Lois and says, "So what aren't you telling them?" And Lois replies, "I just nabbed the story of a lifetime," and shows Oliver the ring she pulled from the vigilante's neck. And then suddenly Clark shows up. One of Oliver's security people let him in. He's like, "My mom told me you were here." Lois, "Smallville, it's almost midnight." Oliver, "Smallville? You're Clark Kent?" The surprise in his tone to the contrast of how Lois refers to Clark and what Clark actually looks like is very obvious, you know, because Clark is big and bouldering and not in any way, like, meek and unassuming. Clark and Oliver shake hands, and Oliver says, "This is funny. It's just, you know, the way Lois talked about you. I thought you were going to be a little more." Lois frantically interjecting, "I could use some water." Clark, "Little more what?" Oliver, "Well," Clark, "of a geek." Lois, "Well, you're not exactly jumping the velvet ropes at nightclubs, so." Clark, with a sly smirk, It's really nice to see that Lois has found someone who can overlook her personality. Oliver.
Ew.
Oliver. Yeah, well, don't worry about it, Clark. You know, I mean, if I lived under the same roof with such a beautiful woman, I would have probably masked my feelings in sarcasm, too.
Snatch his little cape off. Like, my gosh.
Clark informs Oliver the only reason he came over is to help find the necklace. Oliver suggests maybe Lionel had the hit coming, but Clark says that he's more concerned about finding the necklace so that his mom isn't indebted to Lionel in some weird way. And Oliver drops some deets about how several other who's in the city have been hit recently as well. And isn't it odd that Lionel didn't call the police?
That is odd.
It is curious. All right, so next day, Lois visits Chloe at the planet to use the planet's database to further investigate this vigilante for her article because Lois is like, this is it. I'm on the up and up. She shows Chloe the ring that she pulled from the vigilante's neck, telling her there's some sort of engraving on it, but it's too faded to make out. So Chloe takes a picture of it to try to enhance it on her computer. Suddenly, an arrow hits Chloe's desk and a gas starts spraying from it. The gas knocks out Lois and Chloe, and the vigilante appears to retrieve the ring. Jump cut to Oliver's apartment. Surprise! Oliver is the vigilante. I know. All right, so the next day, presumably, we don't know. I'm assuming it's the next day. Oliver is at the Talon with Lois, reading her most recent Inquisitor article entitled "The Green Arrow Bandit." Lois goes on about how
just shorten it.
I know. Lois goes on about how she's going to identify this bandit and put his face and name all over the front page of the planet soon enough. And Oliver questions whether or not it's a good idea to be trying to like chase down and out this guy. And he also suggests perhaps she shouldn't be so shoot first, ask questions later. Maybe the Green Arrow isn't the villain of the piece. She's like, okay. And Oliver then tries to get her to fly away with him to Cancun for the weekend. To distract her from continuing her investigation, pretty much. So she says, no thanks. I have work to do. Meanwhile, Clark is also investigating this Green Arrow character. Fast forward, Clark catches the Green Arrow red-handed on his next burglary. Clark confronts him. Green Arrow's like, nice try there, neighborhood watch. And continues. Clark stops him with one hand, catches the Green Arrow's attempted punch, and then tosses Oliver across the room with a mere shove. So Oliver then tries to shoot an arrow at Clark, but Clark catches it out of thin air. Cut to the planet. Clark and Chloe are putting their brains together, as per usual. A real Sherlock and Watson over here. Chloe tells Clark she's processing a new rendering of the photo that she took of the ring Lois found to see if they can make out what the symbol on it is. Back at the Talon, Lois is further investigating when suddenly two men in black sneak in and ambush her. They try to chloroform her.
Oh my god.
But she fights them off just long enough to call Chloe. And as Chloe answers, Lois starts screaming for help as she's getting dragged away by these men.
Oh my god.
So Chloe tells Clark that Lois is in trouble, and Clark super speeds away before Chloe can even finish her sentence. Right after he gets to the apartment, Lois is already gone, and Oliver shows up because he was bringing her dinner to make sure that she ate, which was so cute. And then he shows up and finds out that she's like been abducted. Clark tells Oliver that he has a hunch the Green Arrow abducted her because Lois has openly been threatening to unmask him. Oliver rebuttals, telling Clark he thinks the Green Arrow is the good guy because everything the Green Arrow has stolen was bought off the black market. Interesting. Interesting detail.
Okay.
So shortly after that, Chloe calls Clark to tell him she's sending him a picture of the engraving on the ring. And it's a family crest, which Clark immediately recognizes because he saw it in Oliver's apartment just a couple days ago. So Clark super speeds to Oliver's apartment and finds all of his Green Arrow accoutrement. And then Clark sees Oliver's security system pinging something, so then Clark follows it. Meanwhile, Lois is being fucking waterboarded and interrogated over what she knows about the Green Arrow, which she tells these people everything she knows she's already printed in the paper. So then one of the men pulls a gun on her because they've now deemed her useless.
Great.
Yeah, and as he pulls the trigger, suddenly an arrow ricochets the bullet. And Then the Green Arrow takes out the other guy and picks up Lois and repels out of the building. Lois wakes up on a rooftop because the Green Arrow was waiting for her to wake up. And then she immediately lunges at him and disarms him and points his crossbow at him and insists he take off his hood and glasses and tell her who he is. But suddenly, all the street's lights above them start exploding, and Lois ducks for cover. Then the Green Arrow makes a run for it. And meanwhile, across the street, we see Clark on the other rooftop using his heat vision to explode the lights so that Oliver could get away. Then Clark super speeds after Oliver to catch him, and they share a little super bros with double identities moment. And then
super bros with double identities. It sounded like they needed a theme song, you know?
That was fucking incredible. I loved that so much. Oh my god. The next day at the planet, Chloe realizes that Clark figured out who the Arrow is, and that the Arrow must know Clark has powers too. Otherwise, like, why would he be, like, keeping the identity from her? So also, I think she's kind of like, do I know who the Arrow is, Clark? Because also, Chloe is an astute son of a bitch, so she's like,
yes.
I'm picking up on something. And Lois, of course, even though she was fucking abducted and waterboarded and almost shot, she's like, I'm not giving up. I was on a rooftop with him. I will know who he is.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and you know, I guess they're kind of like, well, all right. So keep an eye on Lois.
Whatever makes you happy.
Later, Clark goes to the barn and finds Oliver hanging out waiting for him. Oliver, you've been reading up on me. You and Lois should start a fan club. Clark, you gonna tell her? Oliver, you know, you seem to be doing a pretty good job skating by with this farm boy charade. Clark, you can't be with someone else unless they know who you really are. Sooner or later, you're going to hurt her. Which I have so many thoughts on this. Clark could be superficially speaking on his many failed attempts with Lana, but I just find it curious that now that it's Lois on the other end, he is making it very clear that he will throw down to keep her from getting hurt in the same way.
Yeah.
Could be a nursery. Oliver then turns the conversation completely around on Clark and suggests that Clark should be doing more with his abilities to help the world. Like, he's like, sure, you're helping Metropolis, but like, bro, you have the craziest powers I've ever seen. And, and so Clark's kind of like, you know,
back off.
But it's kind of a good moment because you see that they like want to be friends and that Oliver is genuinely like, bro, you're so impressive, you know? All right, so that's the end of the episode. 6-5 is called Reunion, which is ultimately just a flashback episode of Lex and Oliver's time in their prep school days.
Yeah.
And you find out basically Oliver bullied Lex, but then something tragic happened that changed Oliver for the better, but unfortunately changed Lex for the worse. Basically, they both witnessed a schoolmate die. So it made Oliver be like, wow, I should not be an asshole. Life is very short. But then it kind of made Lex be like, so it doesn't matter if you're bad to people, like, people still die. It was a very pivotal moment for both of them.
Yeah, that's formative.
Yes. But there is no Clark and Lois moments, so that's all I'm going to say about that one.
But no Clark and Lois, so
it's like you don't need to watch it.
I'll pass that one.
Episode 7 is called Rage. The episode starts with Lois and Oliver fooling around at his place. She goes to change into something more comfortable, but when she comes back, Oliver's gone.
Yeah.
Jump to Oliver on a mission, but it goes awry and he gets shot in the chest.
Son of a bitch.
And he's just lying there in the street, bleeding out, and then it cuts to the intro song. Legitimately, somebody saved me. I'm bleeding out. So the next morning at the farm, Clark. I'm talking so fast. There's so much to say. The next morning at the farm, Clark and Martha are prepping stuff for Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving week. Woo. Clark is feeling sad because it's the first Thanksgiving without Jonathan. So genuinely kind of a sad moment. Lois lets herself in and promptly tells Martha that Oliver is uninvited to Thanksgiving dinner because he ditched her yet again. She continues to ramble, having a brief existential moment about how she was kidding herself for thinking she could keep up with a billionaire playboy anyway. Lois.
Damn.
Who am I kidding? We had no future. He's a world-renowned billionaire, and I am a nail-biting, talon-dwelling tabloid reporter. Clark. Lois. I'm sure you'll find someone who's more suited for you. Just ask her out already, Clark. DM. Also, Lois doesn't even disagree. She's just like, yeah, I know, life goes on.
Yeah.
Anyway, Lois then tells Clark that she read in the paper this morning that the Green Arrow was shot last night. Someone found him bleeding in the street, went to call for help, but when they came back, the arrow was gone. So he's alive, but wounded. Clark casually rushes over to check on Oliver. Weirdly, Oliver is apparently totally fine. Even weirder, Oliver's Green Arrow gear is just sitting out in plain sight in the living room. And Clark's like, bro, why is your stuff out? Like, I could have been Lois. Even weirder, Oliver is super aggressive toward Clark out of nowhere. Like, Clark came to check on him, and then Oliver starts hurling insults at Clark about how he isn't even using his powers. And as Oliver is yelling at Clark, he shatters his glass of water in his hand.
Bro.
Yeah, and Clark's like,
relax.
Whoa. And then Oliver tells Clark to leave, so Clark gets in the elevator, but as the elevator's going down, like, he uses his x-ray vision to see what, like, Oliver's doing. And then it turns out Oliver is, like, shooting up some insane, like, healing concoction, but Clark just sees him shooting up with something, so he's like, oh my god, Oliver's on drugs. And it turns into an after-school special. Then Clark goes to see Lois at the Talon, and he finds her manically baking pies for Thanksgiving to keep her mind off Oliver. And he tells her how he went to go check on Oliver to see why he keeps standing her up. That's Clark's excuse. And Lois is like, oh my god, why would you do that? She's mortified. And Clark is like, because I care about you. And she's just like, Clark, we've been over this. So Clark brushes past that and confides that he thinks Oliver is doing drugs, which suddenly makes so much sense to Lois because she's like, that's why he's been so flighty and weird. So then she decides to go to try and talk to him because she's worried. Jump to Oliver's apartment. Lois walks in to find the Green Arrow snooping around. So she sneaks up and tries to hit him over the head with a dumbbell. But
oh, shit.
I know. But the arrow turns around and throws her into a glass coffee table.
Snap.
Well, then Oliver panics, realizing what he's done. But Lois yells at him to get away that she's calling 911. Cut to the hospital. Clark immediately shows up to see Lois, and she tells him that the Green Arrow did this. So then Clark's like, bro, like...
He said no. No.
Get the Green Arrow? Upshot is Lex was funding a lab to create this healing potion because Lex is consistently on a mission to be invincible, live forever, have world domination. Okay. Well, Oliver found out about this healing potion Lex was working on because they're always secretly in each other's business. So then Oliver goes and asks to be a test subject for it. And then Oliver gets addicted, and it turns out that the side effects are, like, lethal, and the main one being these violent outbursts that, like, basically lead you to cardiac arrest. And,
fuck.
Yeah. So the scientist then tells Lex, like, bro, it's going bad. And then Lex realizes that other people know about the lab, so he has it destroyed. Oliver realizes he almost killed multiple people without any remorse while he was using this stuff, one of those being Lois. So he's like, maybe it's best that the lab is gone. And he confides in Clark that he was only taking it so that he could feel invincible like Clark, which is...
No.
I know, you're gonna be like, oh, Oliver, like, he just tries so hard.
Yeah.
And like, Clark's like, you're already a better hero than me, and you are mortal. You know, so it's another good moment with Clark and Oliver. Important update. Breaking news. Lana is pregnant with Lex's baby.
Oh my.
Needless to say, she's freaking out a little bit about it and isn't sure how to tell Lex. Understandable. Fast forward to Thanksgiving dinner. Oliver shows up, apologizes to Lois. She forgives him because she just thinks he was like on steroids or something. And, you know, he felt bad. And they all eat dinner. Clark carves the turkey, just like Jonathan used to. And Clark asks everyone to go around and say what they're thankful for because that's what Jonathan always did. And it's a really cute ending.
Nice.
The next episode is called Static. No Clark and Lois stuff here. It's a Lex and Lana episode. It's actually a pretty good episode. Basically, Lex gets stuck in another dimension, if you will. And then the thought of like Lex being gone forever makes Lana realize that she is actually in love with him. And she wants to tell him about the baby and that she wants them to be together. So 6-9 is called Subterranean. Again, no Clark and Lois moments. Skip. Okay. Strap in. Episode 610 is called Hydro. They over-deliver on the previous lack of Clark and Lois content in this episode. Also, Tom Welling directed it. So we love that.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So there's this super obnoxious lead reporter at the Planet named Linda Lake. Okay. Aptly named. She is notorious for ruining people's reputations. Like, that is all she ever writes, and she likes it.
What a bitch.
Yeah, she is. And surprise, surprise, she has meteor-infected powers. She can...
What?
No. She can turn into and control water. Just remember this for later. Fun fact, in the episodes I skipped, Lex proposes to Lana, but Lana hasn't given him an answer yet. Okay. So Lana goes to talk to Chloe about the proposal, and they discuss how the lack of closure with Clark might be what's keeping Lana from saying yes to Lex, because Lana's like, I love him. I want to be with him. But I don't know. I can't give him an answer. So the next day, outside the Talon, turns out Lois and Jimmy have unknowingly, anonymously been working together online to try and figure out who the Green Arrow is. They've been like instant messaging, you know, back when that was the thing.
Oh, okay.
So they meet up to exchange these pictures that this person has taken, and Lois is like, I'll give you money for the pictures. Okay, well then they get there and they realize, oh, what? Lois? Jimmy? And they're like, well, this was silly. We could have been working together in person this whole time. So Jimmy gives the photos to Lois, but none of the photos show the Arrow's face. They're just a bunch of shots of the side of his body.
Yeah.
Understandable. Jimmy's taking action shots probably from like behind a dumpster.
Right.
However, the Arrow clearly got a huge gash across his left bicep. So ultimately Lois is like, well, that's something to go on. Extra, read all about it. The cover story for the day's Planet is written by none other than Linda Lake, and it's all about Lex proposing to Lana and Lana allegedly not answering because of her unrequited feelings for Clark. This is the front page of the Daily Planet.
Jesus Christ. I would be like, who the fuck cares?
Like, one, how does she know this? Two, Lex was right. He was like, the press is always up my ass. Are we surprised? Cut to the Luthor mansion. Lex brings Lana breakfast in bed, and on the tray next to the food is the paper.
Oh, boy.
With this front page story on it. Lex picks it up and reads, when I was with Clark, I would have said yes without hesitating, which is a quote from Lana to Chloe. And Lana doesn't even deny saying it. Jump to Lois and Oliver's apartment. They're working out together. Oliver takes off his shirt, and Lois realizes he has a huge gash across his arm. He's like, oh, it's nothing, fencing accident. And Lois suddenly says she needs to go, that she forgot she had a thing, and she rushes into the elevator and then pulls out the photos Jimmy gave her that morning and realizes, yep, Oliver has an identical wound on his arm as the Arrow does. So, cut to the barn. Clark is heading upstairs to mope about the engagement news.
Well, there wasn't even one.
Not even. It's more that, like...
It's happened at
yes.
all.
But he finds Lois up there. Lois, Smallville, sorry about the article. It's bad enough to have a broken heart, but to have it splashed all over the newspapers. Clark, I guess that's what reporters do, don't they? Lois, okay, I think that little zinger just ricocheted off Linda Lake and hit me. Clark, look, I'm sorry. It's just people keep secrets for a reason. Lois, I don't know. If you ask me, I think a secret is just a big loophole in the whole thou shalt not lie clause. Clark, there's just no gray area with you, is there? Lois, not when someone I thought I knew better than anyone has been keeping the biggest secret of all. Clark, what are you talking about? Lois, what would you do if one day you realized someone close to you had a serious hero complex? Clark, hero complex? Lois, hiding his true identity from everyone he supposedly cares about? You can't tell me you wouldn't find something wrong with that. Clark, who exactly are we talking about? Lois, Green Arrow, a.k.a. Oliver Queen.
Whoa, man.
Clark's like, Oliver?
Like the Oliver that I know?
My friend. Oliver?
What? My good pal Ollie?
He hates green.
Ollie McQueen? Hi, sir.
So Lois goes on to tell Clark about the photos that Jimmy took, the matching wound that Oliver has, and how the night those photos were taken, Ollie bailed on her date. So she's like, everything's lining up. Okay, real fast. Clark went to Lana to talk to her about the newspaper article, but Lex stopped him at the door and told Clark not to bother, that he doesn't have a chance with her anymore because she's carrying Lex's child.
Is that right?
Yeah, so that's important for later. Later that night at the Talon, Chloe comes home to find Clark stealing the photos of the arrow from Lois's bag. Chloe's like, why you snooping? And he immediately turns to her and is like, why didn't you tell me Lana is pregnant? Chloe, before you unload your anger on me, can I just say that I think it is incredibly unfair that everyone trusts me to keep their secrets. Then they turn around and they throw me attitude for keeping someone else's secret. I'm sorry that I had to take a 2-second breather from hiding the fact that you're an alien from another planet to protect someone else for a change.
Damn.
And Clark gives her a hug, knowing full well that she's right, and he feels bad for coming at her. Clark, for the record, I prefer intergalactic traveler over alien from another planet. Which makes Chloe...
Cute.
And it's really cute, so it makes Chloe laugh. Meanwhile...
Intergalactic traveler. Well, he's a one-way traveler, though. He's like a kid that got left at the rest stop.
Yeah, it's funny that he knows he's an intergalactic traveler. Well, I guess technically he came from space, so that counts as intergalactic.
But he hasn't traveled at all.
No. Well, he traveled from Krypton as a baby.
He was a passenger.
More like
he was dumped.
Yeah, more like he was like shipped, like FedEx to Earth.
Yeah.
You're right. But anyway, it's a great line. Meanwhile, during this conversation in Chloe's bathroom, Linda Lake came through the faucet to spy on Clark and Chloe. Because she can turn into water, and like Lex approached Linda Lake and was basically like, I need you to find out everything you can about Clark. Because he was kind of like, okay, you've been snooping on me, so now you're going to snoop on someone else because I'm Lex Luthor and I could take you out. Okay, well, he's right. So Linda hears all this alien talk and then bloop, 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 back up through the faucet and away. Next day at the barn, Clark calls Lois over with a plan to find out if Oliver is really the Green Arrow. Lois momentarily panics, unsure if she actually wants to know the truth about Oliver because she might be in love with him. Lois, I swear the guy could tell me he was from Mars right now and I would find a way to dismiss it as an endearing quirk. Clark, Lois, you're never going to let go of this until you know for sure. Lois, I hate that you know me like that. Yes, he does. Okay, so fast forward to later that night. Clark and Lois and Jimmy have staged a scenario to see if Oliver is the Green Arrow, but Clark and Oliver have also staged a scenario to convince Lois that Oliver isn't the Green Arrow. Clark's doing double duty here.
Yeah.
All right. So Lois goes out to buy ice. She calls Oliver from the alley, claiming she's being chased by a bunch of guys and she needs help. Unbeknownst to Lois, she is actually being followed by some sketchy guys because she's a hot babe walking down an alley by herself at night. As they approach, Jimmy jumps down from his like photo position to help her fend them off. And he's like, "You didn't tell me there were going to be real thugs." And Lois is like, they kind of made an impromptu appearance. But don't worry, the Green Arrow shows up to save the day. He grabs one of the thugs and throws them halfway across the alley. Then he knocks back an arrow and threatens to let it loose on the thugs, and the thugs immediately run away. And then the arrow helps Lois up. "Lois, your secret's safe with me, Oliver." Then she pulls the Green Arrow in and lays one on him. And the Green Arrow does not resist this at all, might I add. After kissing him for a solid 10 seconds, Lois pulls away, realizing this is not Oliver. And suddenly, Oliver speaks up behind her. "That's a hell of a thank you." And Lois panics and slaps the arrow. And then Jimmy is like hurriedly taking pictures. And then the arrow super speeds away, which they're all like, what? So around the corner, you see Clark come to a halt and pull off the Green Arrow hood, because if you hadn't put together by now that Clark was pretending to be the Green Arrow, he was. Side note, it is absolutely outrageous that they wanted us to believe Clark could fit into the same suit tailored to Oliver.
This is a 15-year-old argument that you are making. I'm having deja vu.
Because it's that ridiculous. Like,
it is.
Just look, I'm going to do visuals. I'm going to put a picture of Clark and Oliver, and I'm going to be like, they can't wear the same clothes.
They're not the same size at all.
So anyway, subplot update throughout the episode. Lana and Chloe have been investigating how Linda Lake knew so much private information about their lives. They piece together that she has these meteor-infected powers, so they break into her office, and Lana stakes out the planet in the car while Chloe's hacking into Lake's laptop from the inside, and Chloe sees that Lake's next article will reveal Clark's identity because of what she overheard them talking about in Chloe's apartment. So Chloe's like, oh, shit. But don't worry, Chloe and Linda Lake get into a fight, and then Lana accidentally hits Linda Lake with her car, and Linda just bursts into a big splash of water and goes down the drain, and they don't see her again.
All right, yeah, no questions asked. She's dead, but no questions asked.
Done. And they're like, whoa, what?
When you hit someone with a car, you don't see them again?
He's normally a body, right? Thank God there's not. That would be traumatizing. Chloe's like, speaking from experience.
Yes, she has, she's got
PTSD.
There's a little rap sheet going.
Yeah, for fucking real. So yeah, that was the episode of that. Back at the planet, Jimmy excitedly comes to show Chloe the pictures of the Green Arrow that he took during his and Lois's setup. But then when he uploads them to the computer, the arrow disappeared from the shot, like the one that he was like, this is the money shot. Apparently the arrow disappeared faster than 1,000th of a second shutter speed. So Chloe's like, oh my God, Clark. Okay. So the next morning at the Talon, Chloe calls Clark over. She and Lois are telling Clark that Lois's hunch was wrong. Chloe, he's not the Green Arrow. Can you believe that? Luckily, Oliver showed up when our hero was still around, but looks like you were way off base about him. And the craziest part is he chucked a guy across an alley and then super sped away. I mean, who does that? Clark, it's good Oliver showed up when he did. Then you knew for sure. Chloe, oh, she knew before he showed up. Clark, you did? Chloe, ask her how. Clark, how? Lois, I kissed him. He was holding me in his arms, and Ollie's a good kisser, don't get me wrong, but that Green Arrow, he could teach Ollie a thing or two.
Oh.
And Clark, like, immediately tries not to blush, and Chloe's just looking at him like this. She's like, ooh. And Clark's just like, stop it. And it's great. Later that day, Lana comes to see Clark at the barn in the wake of all of this love triangle article, blah, blah, blah. She pleads with him to finally just trust her just this once and, like, be honest with her. And he, of course, now feels almost even more like he can't be honest with her because he knows she's pregnant with Lex's child, which is like 10 times more shit for him to process. And he doesn't know how to process his feelings for Lana anyway. Then her coming to him and being like, please just be honest with me. He's like, I don't know what you want me to say to you, Lana. There isn't anything to say. So she leaves. And I'm just like, as though we needed more proof that you guys shouldn't be together. This is more proof. In light of this conversation, Lana realizes that nothing is ever going to change with Clark. So then she goes to Lex and she is honest. She's like, I might always love Clark, but that is a truth and not like a current reality. She's like, I'm in love with you. I want to be with you. And so she says, yes, I want to marry you. I know. And again, it's like a weirdly, like, you're like, wow. She tells Lex that she will always love Clark. And Lex is like, okay. So again, it's like, it's so conflicting. Anyway, so the next couple episodes, again, don't really have any Clark and Lois. It's one of them is called, I think, Justice. And it's like a cute little intro to the Justice League, which is fun. And then the episode after that is called Labyrinth, episode 12. And it's one of my favorite episodes of the series. But we won't be talking about it because Lois isn't in it. But it's really great. Tom is amazing in it. And we meet John Jones, a.k.a. Martian Manhunter, who is a super underrated DC character. So I highly recommend watching that one on your own. I'm going to give my last little plot development detail, and then we will be stopping. And this will just be part 1 of a 2-part episode. But I want to end on this. Important plot development from the episodes I skipped. In 611, Justice, in the wake of like this little Justice League that they're forming, Oliver decides he needs to go find more superheroes like himself because he realizes like, oh, there's so many people out here that are trying to do this thing. So he and Lois break up and he tells Lois that he has to go away on business and she asks him to stay and he says he can't. Oliver, there are more important things in this world than what I want and what I love. I hope one day I can explain why. Lois, don't expect me to be waiting around for that when you get back. Oliver, I'm not coming back, Lois, at least not anytime soon. I'm sorry, I never wanted to hurt you. Lois, well, you finally got around to it anyway, didn't you? And he says he knows he's going to regret this, and she tells him she loved him, and then she leaves, and it's heartbreaking because she had not told him she loved him before. Like, I think she just, like, wasn't prepared to, and then she's like, I loved you, and then she leaves, and it's heartbreaking. And that's about halfway through the season, and it's, like, new trajectory after that, so it works to stop there. And I'll do the rest in part 2.
Woo!
Woo! That was a lot, but I feel good about it. Made it halfway. I feel good. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. If you didn't already know, we now have a YouTube channel. You can just search for Nelson Nonsense and you'll find it. But you can also find the link to the YouTube on our usual website, linktree/n&npod. It is up to date. It's got all our profiles on it. We got decent traction on our first video, so thank you for watching. That's super exciting.
Yay, thank you.
And then as far as like our Patreon goes, you can also find Patreon/n&npod. And now that we're doing like video, I had thoughts for potential like exclusive content, like unedited episodes, or like we could upload our show notes and you could see all of our weird ass notes that we take. So let us know if that's something you'd be interested in. Leave a comment or send us an email, whatever you feel like. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe. Subscribe to that shit.
Please.
Please. Please. Thank you. Stay tuned for part 2. I told you, I prefaced in the beginning. This was a long one.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all.
Okay, so we can stop.
Yeah, wait, I love you.
I love you.